Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Pissing it down rain here in Norwich, which, I guess to be fair, we've had so much sun, I guess a little bit of rain is now to be expected. But you haven't come here for the weather forecast, have you? Now, I would go after Kier, the traitor Starmer, once again, but I feel like I've already roasted the bastard enough. And I don't want to be put on war crimes for the torture, even if he is guilty of being a traitor, but being put on war crimes for effectively torturing a person, whether or not he deserves it. So I won't focus too much on Kier the traitor Starmer, because I think my last video does a good enough job of that itself. It really was something, though, to hear somebody else who even wants to listen to what I'm saying and basically chip in his 2 cents on the whole thing. And you know what? It gives me a spark of hope that there are people in Norwich who are willing to listen to what ordinary patriots like me have to say. And if somebody like me, who usually only amasses, 100, 200 views on most videos, though the last one obviously is breaking that, per video, then it begs the question what would happen if someone bigger in Norwich started doing what I was doing. And this is kind of a late thank you to all the subscribers I've got right now, the 550 and climbing that I've got. Thank you for the 500 subs and the 550 subs or whatever, because at the end of the day, we're all in it together. David the Conman Cameron said it better than anyone else ever will. So instead of Kier the traitor Starmer, why don't we focus on Yvette Cooper and Jess Phillips? Because Jess Phillips even put out a tweet a little while ago, basically saying that she's more in favour of mob rule. To which, obviously, there were people like Carl Benjamin or Elon Musk who have come out to Twitter to basically say this is all fundamentally wrong. And how Elon Musk is getting involved in this, you know it's bloody dire. Let's get out of this pissing rain. Anyway, anybody who doesn't know, on the off chance, who Elon Musk is, he's basically the guy who owns Twitter. And unlike... Oh, there's my bus. I guess I'm going back over. Oh shit, he's going a bit fast. My leg's still hurting from this morning, by the way. Anyway, what I was trying to say is Elon Musk is basically the guy who leads Twitter, and unlike a lot of the other left-wing Silicon Valley groups, he's not afraid to say it how it is. This, of course, puts him under more scrutiny by the mainstream media, but people like Elon Musk and Carl Benjamin and Lee Anderson, I think it was actually Lee who said something about Jess Phillips, quite rightly condemned her, saying that she's basically supporting mob rule, which I will never be a fan of at the end of the day. I know I defended Jess Phillips in a previous video, basically saying not even she deserves to be harassed by if I can get the words out, stroke number 1, pro-plasticine. It doesn't change the fact that she has to be held accountable for everything she says, including basically advocating for mob rule. How they're saying about, all this stuff about what happened in Southport, misinformation, all that bollocks. She needs to be held to account. Just like Yvette Cooper needs to be held to account, because she is in cahoots with Kier the traitor Starmer as the Home Secretary. Basically the person you go to about serious things like all these revolts that are going on around the nation. Plymouth, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, Southport, Downing Street, Stoke-on-Trent, just to name a few. She's been awfully silent, though, about Birmingham, where a load of Muller Rices came out and they basically attacked a pub goer. No police presence whatsoever. The police didn't even pay it any fucking attention. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because, say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. Where were the police when an innocent man who has got nothing to do with these protests was being violently beaten by a gang of Muslims? And let me be absolutely clear, I'm not going to sit here and say all Muslims are like this, but what I will say is that the perpetrators who attacked them were obviously Muller Rices at the end of the day. And violence is abhorrent regardless of who does it, whether it's a Christian, whether it's a white, whether it's a black, whether it's a Muslim, whether it's a Buddhist, though you'll rarely see them do it these days. But I digress. Yvette Cooper had every chance to come out and condemn what's happened, as far as what happened to that pub goer is concerned. But you know what we hear? That's right, silence. She was completely silent. Oh, but she's willing to, like Keir the traitor Starmer, condemn all the far-right parents and patriots who are concerned for their kids. And while I do accept that not all of these riots are on the back of 3 children being stabbed and killed, it's been simmering for decades. It doesn't change the fact that those 3 kids being killed, God rest their souls, that was the catalyst. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And now what we're seeing through Keir the traitor Starmer is him basically becoming a dictator, or maybe I was right first time. He has become 2-tier Keir Stalin the traitor Starmer. He literally went out of his way to say, I will do everything I can to protect the Muslim community and the mosques. Any politician worth his salt, let alone a prime minister, would not be saying that. They'd be saying, I will do my damnedest to protect every British citizen, not just one section of people. That is pure sectarianism. But all our mainstream media want to report on is, as said, the supposed far right. The supposed people who are thugs in the eyes of the media. Even though a lot of these people who are supposedly far right actually were making chants, for example, of Rule Britannia. They were saying things, protect the children, save the children. What's happening with our children? Just to name a few. But apparently if you complain about kids being attacked and brutally murdered by basically an illegal that has no legal or human right to be here, then apparently you're just another far-right, knuckle-dragging thug. Our media needs to hang their heads in shame, every single one of those traitors, because they are doing a disservice to genuine British people who care about their country and, most importantly, their kids' future. Something those fuckers at the BBC or Sky News don't seem to understand. They have no respect for British heritage. We are fighters. We care about our kids, and we're not going to stand idly by while we see traitors sink this country. Whether it's Yvette Cooper, whether it's Keir the traitor Starmer, whether it's Jess Phillips, whether it's Tom, Dick and Harry. We're not going to stand idly by while we keep getting libelously slandered as far right, when the real far right is that of the Islamic people who follow the radical teachings of Sunni Islam, who go around with baseball bats, knives, machetes, and basically want to carve up any white person who is caught isolated, which is something, of course, the mainstream media do not want to tell you about because it wouldn't fit their narrative at the end of the day. These people have no morality, no shame with what they're doing. And at the end of the day, it is the Prime Minister's job, as I said, to protect the realm and all of its inhabitants. All of them, regardless of colour, creed or religion. You may not like what I have to say. Some people don't like the cold, bitter truth. But what it boils down to is our 2-tier police and our 2-tier media, and now 2-tier Keir, are focusing much too hard. They've got tunnel vision. They can only see what's ahead of them. They can't see what's to the left, the right, the centre or behind them. They don't even have a rear view mirror. That's how these guys operate. They just want to slag off the supposed far right and say that we're nothing but thugs, and that if we step a hair out of line, we're going to get 10 years in prison for rioting. 10 years. for criminal damage, when there are people who have committed manslaughter through drink driving who literally have only served a third of that fucking time. Again, the mainstream media don't want to tell you that. How sad is it that you can literally be sent to prison for 10 years for being genuinely concerned about your kid's future? Because at the end of the day, we see the police not just going after the real criminals, we see them arresting old age pensioners, including that 73-year-old in London who had a pacemaker in her heart. Real brave police officers. I'm sure they'll be due for a promotion from their shill higher-ups, the police commissioners, who are the real traitors in that force. I accept that a lot of these police are really probably are just people with families who are trying to make ends meet. But I have to hold these people to account as well, because they should have the basic principles not to assault innocent people, not to arrest innocent people, not to persecute innocent people. Their duty is to the British public, not to the traitors in the houses of treachery, I mean Parliament. Or again, maybe I was right first time. Their duty is to prevent crime, ideally, and pacify it if it does erupt. Why are they not doing that with the Islamic community when they're going around brandishing knives and machetes, waving them in the air with reckless abandon? Whereas if we even step a hair out of place, rather than run away like they do with the Islamic community or are nowhere to be found, they come down with the full riot squads, multiple police forces, guard dogs, sometimes even horseback police, and they beat the shit out of us. Do you think that's acceptable? This blatant two-tier policing. I know there are people who are making references to Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi, whatever his name was. Basically, if we keep being peaceful, then we're going to have the support of ordinary people. I do accept some of what they're saying, but I just don't think we have the time to wait. 6 months, 12 tops, that's all we got. And if it doesn't work after that, then you have to really reconsider your options at this point. I don't advocate for violent revolution. I don't advocate for riots. I don't advocate for violence against other people. But the people are not left with an awful lot right now. When you take away options for peaceful resolution, then the people are only left with violent revolution, which I think is what Keir the Traitor Starmer wants. And it's what the mainstream media wants, so they can be like, you see, they are far-right racists and thugs and football hooligans and blah, blah, blah. I accept that's probably what they want. It probably is a trap for us to do this. But unfortunately, as much as they might want this, at the end of the day, there's way more of us than there are of them. There's way more patriots than there are traitors in the establishment. That's what they must not forget. We can mobilize an army. They can't. They can get the army, but a lot of them will turn coat and join us, because they're not going to want to put up with the treachery from the establishment. Obviously, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it becomes a peaceful resolution. But I think, as I said before, and I can't stress enough, I think we're getting to the stage where that's going to be no longer an option. The media doesn't want to showcase the other side of the story, because if they showcase the other side of the story and reported it impartially and without bias, do you really think the 95% of people who are still fast asleep, or sorry, 90% who are still fast asleep, do you think they're going to stay asleep? Fuck no. They're going to get up and they're going to join us. They're going to join the resistance, because they can see what treachery is going on at the end of the day. But you know what makes me laugh at times? You know what really makes me laugh? Seeing NPCs come out of the woodwork to comment, just to say, oh, you're such a toxic person. Yeah, sure I am. I'm a toxic person for calling out bullshit and traitors when I see them. Because as I've said before, and will say here again, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, I don't mince my words, and I'll do my damnedest not to bullshit you. And when I do make a mistake, I'll at least have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to admit where I've gone wrong. I admitted it when I thought Edward Heath was a Labour person. Well, it would have made it more fitting actually, because at least it would make sense. Labour continuing on from where Edward Heath left off, trying to rejoin us to the European Union. But of course that was a mistake I made, and I admitted that. Do you think the mainstream media's going to do that? Of course they fucking won't. Do you think the police are going to do that? Of course they fucking won't. Do you think Keir the traitor Starmer is going to do that? Like hell will he? Traitor all and all, and inside and out. But it's sad when our media literally have no integrity, that they would rather lie through their teeth for a mission than actually tell us the fucking truth and showcase the Birmingham riots and what the Muslim community is doing to a poor not even party goer, a pub goer. Two-tier police, folks. Two-tier fucking police. That's what it boils down to. They don't want to go down hard on the Islamic community for fear of being called racist. They don't want to be called out for coming at us with an iron fist while they deal with pro-plasticine, Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain, Black Lives Matter, and the Islamic community with kid gloves. They don't want to tell us that. They don't want to admit it. Why do you think Mark Rowley stormed out of that fucking meeting that he had in London, the Cobra meeting, tried to snatch the microphone from a reporter's hands after he asked about the two-tier policing? At least the media has some shreds of credibility where they do ask the hard questions to traitors like Keir the traitor Starmer or Mark Rowley or Sadiq Khan. Whereas our police, more often than not, rather than give us a helping hand, they'd rather have their hand hold a knife and stab the British public in the back. Just like Keir the traitor Starmer. And people wonder why I say we need to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking. It's because of the people running this country. They are not serving the British public, they're serving the WEF puppet masters, the 1% that control the world. And as I said, Keir has done in 4 or 5 weeks what Tony Blair could only ever imagine of doing in 4 or 5 years. It really is a sad state of affairs when we have a situation where our media, our police, and the government are all in collusion with one another to portray people like Tommy Robinson, Richard Inman, Maya Toosey, Paul Thorpe, etc., as far-right thugs. Well, whichever way you slice it, the media, the government, and the police are the ones on trial here. They are the ones who have to answer to us, the British people. Some people have even come up with the idea, maybe save up some money so you can live without a job for 6 months. Let's see how long they go without the taxpayers' money if everybody just decided, nah, we're not going to work anymore. Let's see how quick they are to reform the moment we stop paying them our taxpayers' money. Oh, I guarantee you, soon as they stop getting their money, they will reform real quick. Because at the end of the day, they need us. They need the working class. The same people that traitor Starmer said that he wanted to serve. And the first thing he does after all this shit happens is he brings in more powers for the police to control us and call us all far-right thugs. I don't know about you, that's not really the first message I would want to give to the working class. Now, is it? Keir the traitor Starmer. But the media and the police need to be held to account as well, because they are just as treacherous as Keir the traitor Starmer. They are the ones who are pushing the narrative that we're all far right, when we're really just concerned people who worry about our kids quite understandably, even those who don't have kids, like me. I may not be a big fan of children, but that's more of a personal thing where it's like I was bullied a lot at school. I'm not going to sit here and condemn the kids I see in the future just because they're fucking kids. I understand that not every kid is an asshole. Not every kid is going to be a piece of shit, like that 17-year-old who went and stabbed the 3 kids at a dance club. I accept that. I understand that every child, as long as they are a reasonable human being, deserves to have a bloody bright future. Rather than this dim-lit shit. Anyway, they deserve a future. A bright one. They don't deserve to grow up 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now and see this country has gone to shit and has become the same third world shithole that Keir the traitor Starmer is importing to our great country. The media will always try to play this off with that art of projection. Basically, condemn the far right. They consider them a scapegoat. They consider them an easy target. They consider them basically the easiest ones to pin the blame on when they don't have any credibility. They are the ones who are effectively demonising the entire British people. And I don't know one other politician that has actively condemned its own citizens as much as Keir the traitor Starmer. I have to ask the media, why aren't you going after him? Because last time I checked, back before Tony the war criminal Blair rescinded the traitor law, wasn't that punishable by death? Or at the very least, life in prison? Or something like that? You betray your people, you serve for life. Or serve life, rather. Or you get a nice little spot on the gallows where they get to see you swing in the wind. Maybe we need to bring that back for traitors like him. Because quite frankly, he is, as I said before, the biggest traitor of our nation's history. And I think we really do need to reconsider the death penalty and bring back the traitor law. So that then we can't have blatant treachery and deceit like of which we're seeing from the media, the police, and most importantly, Keir the traitor Starmer himself. People are not going to like me saying that. They'll call me toxic. They'll say I'm a fatty. They will say that I'm a far-right racist. But all these are, as I actually said to the NPC who called me toxic, these are just name tags. They're throwing them out like frisbees, way off target. Stick to solitaire. I'm sure you could deal yourself a better hand that way. But at the end of the day, we need to take out the trash and place them in the dustbin of history where they rightfully belong. Because these NPCs, alongside the police, alongside our media, they're only going to bring us down like an anchor. It is why people like Jess Phillips, Yvette Cooper, and Keir the traitor Starmer are facing calls to resign because of their unbridled levels of treachery towards the people. Like I said before, a Prime Minister's first duty, in fact the whole Cabinet's duty, is to find ways to protect the realm and every single inhabitant, not one section of them. Last time I checked, I don't think Britain was a sectarian country. But maybe my history's wrong, I don't know. Maybe someone wants to clue me in on that shit. But I thought we were a nation by the people, for the people. But clearly, Keir's priorities are to his WEF masters. And the media is also part of it. The police, to a lesser extent, are part of it. The police, rather than be there when the British public needs them, they simply turn their backs on us. They stab us in the back. Well, actually, no, they don't have knives. So they beat us in the back with their batons. They charge at us with their horses. They send the dogs after us. They batter us with their shields, while ignoring the real threat, that is radical Sunni Islam and, of course, uncontrolled immigration. Until these issues are fixed, I think this is only going to get worse. And as Reverend said, he believes things are going to have to get massively worse before they get better. And that clearly is becoming the case. People are starting to wake up to it. We just need more people to wake up and see what our government and our police and media are doing. The media needs to be reminded what their duty is to us, the British public. Impartial, unbiased news. The police, their duty is to protect the people, keep the peace, and restore order. If any chaos erupts or any criminal activity erupts, restore it as quickly as possible. But we don't see that. What we see is the police taking sides. Oh yes, that was the other thing. And to do it apolitically. But what we see from the police is they bend the knee to BLM. They wear pride flags, get tattoos on their faces, drive fucking rainbow-coloured cars for LGBTQ. They run away from radical Islam while beating the shit out of patriots and concerned parents and arrest the elderly and the infirm. Let that silence sink in. There's a reason I did that specifically. And that's to pay my respects to the people out there right now fighting the good fight. And let me be clear, that does not mean I advocate for the violence, the riots, the criminal damage, the looting, the pillaging, attacking the police. But it goes out to the people who are doing this peacefully. Because while I may not be 100% on board at the moment, more like 80%, because of the fact that I feel like peaceful resolution's not working, I do respect the people who are doing this the correct way. I respect the people who still have the tenacity of British fighters who are standing there in the line of fire and holding firm in the face of the greatest adversity that we've ever faced in our entire history. The enemy from within. We're not the enemy that bangs on the gates from the outside. We're the traitor within that can open the gates to those enemies. Because at the end of the day, an enemy on the outside of the gates still has to get the metaphorical battering ram to get through. Or they have to lift up the portcullis. Or they have to destroy the walls. They still have to go through that physical effort to break down our society. Whereas a traitor within our midst can literally just walk up to the gatehouse and pull that lever and open the fucking door. And then they don't have to do anything other than charge straight through. That's the way I look at it. And right now, we do have a load of traitors in our midst. We have a load of fucking traitors right now who need to be held to account. The traitor law must be brought back so that we can put these people on criminal charges and either jail them for life or hang them, just like they did in the medieval times. Because as I said before, the most dangerous enemy is not that is invading our country from over shores or over the air. It is the enemy within that is opening the gates to the invaders who want to take over.